You're listening to White Noise with your host, Drip, 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 Drip.
Welcome back, White Noise, episode 24. That was the irony last week, Cal.
This is 24.
We called last week's episode was technically 23, and that man had how many matches, as we said?
23 matches, yeah.
23 matches
in a year,
whole
yeah.
First dance that started and ended in Chicago, the Jordan City, the serendipity of life, as I proclaimed
Right.
here on White Noise with me, your host, Davis, aka Drip, co-host Cal, that we are dreamers, we are romantics, we are idiots at the end of the day, most importantly, because we will fall and believe this stuff and give our hopes up. And just like CM Punk coming back from his injury rather quickly to win the title at All Out, it ended in just mere hours. It was the ultimate grand opening, grand closing. It was like
the look of him, like there was nothing
the demented
better.
Look of like
no, but for real, like him sitting there munching on the fucking muffin.
It's a muffin.
It was like there were what was it? What was the thing he was drinking?
Oh my god! I'm not a sparkling water or cider or whatever it was.
There's like, hold on, I'm sorry. There's like 10 cans of this thing sitting there.
Yeah, he basically brought a 12-pack, but not packed.
Like, oh man, this isn't even doing it justice. One sec. Take this off. Because, like, you see, look at that bag. That's at least like 3 cans plus the 5 that's near him. He's brought 8 cans. He had a fucking muffin out there. Look at Tony Khan's face. It's like, ugh.
And as I gave you that image last week of the stages, the 3 stages of Tony Khan and CM Punk, happy to meet you, to it's going great, the honeymoon phase, and this is marriage, number 3. This is the life you've chosen. And I watched some of the previous scrums just before we recorded, and it's funny, at Double or Nothing, he said, like, he was asked about would he be satisfied or something like that. He said, I'm just trying to enjoy it while I can, because if I wake up and die tomorrow, it'll be over. And I'm just like, buddy, you don't know how close you were. You may not be dead living, but you are dead career-wise.
Yeah,
like
he fucked that career up.
He cursed himself in a way.
Well, that's what happens. That's what happens.
But no, as you said, we discussed the in-ring, which to some people he was cooked. A lot of people had to carry him, the likes of Lee Moriarty, Hobbs, Penta. And yes, those are obviously the stars of today and the future, so it makes total sense. But he wanted to prove he can still go. Most importantly, he wanted to prove that he could teach these guys. He has something to mentor them with, like how he wanted to be mentored. He often said, like, I wish someone would have done this to me or would have done that. And he did have ones, like he had said prior, like, when someone told me this, I listened. The Harley Races, the Ricky Steamboats, the Terry Funks of sorts, and he wanted to be that for these guys in this company. And what he came to find out is these guys didn't give 2 fucks about.
They were good.
What do you think about that as someone who is kind of in the role he's in, and I am the role? Right. I'm in the role of, like, no, I'm just saying, like, I am the role of, like, the MJFs, the Hangman.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good. I don't need your advice. Like you said, like, I'm all good.
I don't want to sound like here we go. No, I
fucking jerk off.
I'll have this conversation with Math on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
There was one we were having a conversation on the phone about this topic, the OG conversation, and then Caprice Coleman, shout out to Caprice Coleman, he was on Black Wrestling Proper, and that conversation popped up there. At some point, we had a conversation about it on the Buffy as well. Like, it's a constant, because it's a role that you can't take lightly. If somebody looks at you legit as your OG, even if you don't really feel like it, you can't just be like, get the fuck out of my face. I don't want to talk to you like that. Like, you have to, if they ask you for some advice, you need to, not bullshit them. But I think, like, the idea of Punk being the Undertaker that he wishes he would have gotten when he was in WWE for these AEW cats is cool, but you kind of have to be there and grow into that role. It's not a role that you just seniority is cool. They respect all of the people that
No, I was
that
about to say
like
it's not
they
that like he didn't have an Undertaker. It's maybe the guys that didn't like him had no problem teaching everyone else. And this is maybe the story of CM Punk himself. It's like,
right.
No one seems to have anything bad about Chris Jericho being a mentor to them. They seem to have a problem with this guy telling them what they should do.
But I mean, but I bring up the Taker because that was that was a conversation that had come up while Punk was over there. Punk talked about wrestler's court or whatever. Like there were multiple interview quotes with him talking about how things were in the locker room when he was over at WWE versus what he wanted to do as a locker room general, an OG or whatever. But when you're Ray Phoenix, when you're Dwayne Martin, and
Dante.
I'm sorry, Dante Martin,
not above the rim star Dwayne Martin.
Not Dwayne. I'm sorry, Dante. And you have people like Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega and John Moxley, people who have seen big success outside of AEW before they got here, and B, were on that indie grind just like they were. They were the OGs in the indie scene back before they were coming up. Like they don't need, like CM Punk would be a great OG to have if he's on the level, but if he's coming into the room and saying, "I am the OG," they're like,
I think that's
so. Daniel said, "What would you say?" And like, it's tough to present yourself. You have to kind of grow into that role, is what I'm saying. And if he didn't have the right mentality going into the locker room that way, you see what happens when you try to force yourself a prompt, or at the very least, talk a certain way to people that already have somebody to talk to.
Yeah, and if you ever heard him talk in any instance, or again, if you've listened to the Art of Wrestling podcast episodes that he did, you know this guy probably thinks very highly of himself, has a bit of a chip on his shoulder, wants to prove a lot of doubters wrong, wants to say he's right, and he'll say when he's wrong, but more often than not, he'll be like, I'm right in this instance, and maybe you can tell me I'm wrong later, and I'll deal with that, but I think it should have been done this way, and should have been done that way. Like, his whole idea, like, I don't think it should be Rock Cena again at WrestleMania. I think it should be a triple threat match with the two of them and myself. And I'm not saying that just to, like, feed my ego, even though I think, again, he wanted that WrestleMania main event, as he stated numerous times. He's like, you got to give the people something fresh. You got to give them the same. You can't keep giving them the same thing. And that's why this company is the way it is. And that's why it's boring and why the ratings aren't good. And we already know the outcome, like, change it up. And that's why he's like, you put me in the triple threat match and pin me in 5 minutes. That'll be a total surprise. No one will see that coming. So it's not like he's, completely wrong or in it for himself, but you have to be in this business, which he's said numerous times.
He ain't no dummy. He ain't no dummy.
He's said it himself. He tells a famous quote, like, Stone Cold Steve Austin says, like, if you're not in this business to be the world champion, why are you in it? And he was a guy who wanted to be the world champion when no one else wanted to, whether it be Vince McMahon, Triple H, except probably Paul Heyman was the only guy who wanted him to be the world champion. But Paul Heyman
rode for a lot of underdogs.
Saw something in a lot of people that either went on to do great things or went on to be nothing, unfortunately.
That's kind of Paul Heyman was a different type of OG. He was a reckless OG at the time in the ECW days.
That's probably why they got along so well. These two guys, it's my way and it's my way. Like, that's like, you tell me to do this, well, fuck you, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is that punk rock mentality, or probably Paul and Wyman's case, that New Yorker mentality. Like, fuck you, like,
basically, yeah, the bad boys in the room. And I think I was actually reading something. I was editing something that for work, talking about the dog collar match that CM Punk had with Raven. I guess that was the same. It was a match where he poured the alcohol down Raven's throat after he'd come out of rehab, and then they poured the alcohol down CM Punk's throat. And I was thinking about that because Punk's straight edge, and it's not the first time I'd heard of him. He did that shit with Jeff Hardy. He's done it before where he plays on those types of real life aspects. But the fact that he I'm assuming it was real beer or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what he was.
It's probably like the non-alcoholic beer.
But the fact, like
I think it's
he's,
like John Moxley said recently that he drinks. He's like, I'll drink beer, but it's just non-alcoholic. It's just,
I think he when I was reading about that and I was thinking about what that really meant at the time, because that was also a time where ROH. I'm not saying ROH didn't have violence, but the federation was more about wrestling and wrestling with honor, and sticking to these rules, and that was the gimmick, was when people would step out of line, they were the heels because they weren't honoring, and it was the way. But anyway, that's the deep back
this is
part
what
of
we
my
had
brain.
said last week, where like his wrestling style, like he's a tall guy, but not the tallest. He's in good shape, but he's not cut. He can jump off the top rope, but he's not a high flyer. He's technical enough. He's a striker, and it's just like he kind of had all these tools to be what a lot of people say. Like you think this guy's the Messiah, this guy's the savior. Like, look at him.
Right.
Not even the punk rock. Like, look at the tattoos and the hair. Just like you see his build. Like
His physique.
He's an average guy, and he has like the 5 tools, but like he's not. Which tool is he great at? But like him wanting to be this guy on the mic to tell stories, to do stuff that would be crazy. And what we said, like his whole thing is there was never a character of CM Punk. It was always him, which is him being straight edge or him being the asshole who tells it like it is.
But
gone from promotion to promotion to promotion.
I mean, he's also, but when you think about, because what is Punk? Punk's Chicago, Punk is straight edge, Punk is punk rock, but Punk is also pro wrestling, and I think I say that in terms of, I mean, would it be fair to say more psychology? Like, I think he's I think Punk's game. I think Punk's always in the middle of a game with everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think in his head, this is what I've always thought about Punk. In his head, he's aspiring to be the best at the game he's playing. You know what I'm saying? And so what does he need to play the game? He needs money, so he's got to be at the top of any promotion. But he also wants space.
Yeah,
I think those things war with each other, because if he does, like you said, he doesn't have superior physical acumen or superior skills in terms of pro wrestling, so he has to try and it's like Survivor, outwit, outlast, outsmart. I think that's what he's trying to do. But
and by doing that, he has to say the stuff that really can't be said because it acknowledges real life. And this is supposed to be, like you said, a TV show that's supposed to be entertainment. We're not supposed to know that Jeff Hardy does have troubles with addiction, that Raven just came out of rehab, that the whole point again of the pipe bomb is, I'm leaving, my contract's up. Right. I don't want to be here anymore because I haven't been used like I've been wanted to be used. I'm going to leave like Brock Lesnar left. You remember him? I'm going to leave and go to this company because that company exists, even though they don't want you to know that. The whole thing of CM Punk was he was always the shooter, and more often not in the ring and in backstage. And that's where like these issues 3 months ago now have come to a head, where this guy says, I'm out, I'm done, fuck these guys, fuck this place, I want to move on. What was it? He's ready to move on to his next venture, were the words that
he was ready he was prepared for his next venture. I'd have to look up.
If you post the image of him and MJF, what do you take off the
I'm sorry,
the caption? That's right, because you can kind of see. So what's going on in this picture?
All right, so Punk, they're in this. They're in the ring. I'm assuming this is a Dynamite. Are they about to shake hands? Why is MJF has his hand extended, but Punk is kind of looking.
Let's go into like that real myth gifts. Like, let's break it down and like the story aspect. There might be something there, but there might not be. Like, this is, I think, the week before they had the real like back and forth on the mic. This is, I think, MJF called him out. Punk came out, didn't do anything, just left.
Okay.
And that like MJF stumped, but like MJF is extending his hand to this guy, and this guy is too good to shake this hands. And then as we go on to find out, MJF is the biggest CM Punk fan there is in that company besides Tony Khan. He was his hero. He's who he wanted to be. And again, much like MJF, there is no character except the person.
Right.
Granted, the person plays the character 24/7, but MJF always says the real stuff.
Yeah,
Like CM
that's
Punk
his whole
always
thing.
says the real stuff. And
Right.
she'll play the Roddy Piper routine as Math and Ricky Starks and numerous other people said, where he'll call a shit town, these shit people, blah, blah, blah. But like, this is a guy who's, again, coming into this company now for a few months and it isn't going to shake this young guy's hand. Now, if you move on to the Hangman Page image, the scenario's flipped. This guy's been here for a while. He's been through war. He wants to shake this young up-and-comer's hand, and this guy says, fuck you, because now there have been months of dealing with this guy's bullshit.
Yeah, and like I said, he's like my OGs have already been established. Like, why do I need to...
Well, not even that. That is a good, and we'll get to who his OGs are in that aspect.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
The role slip of like, I'm not gonna shake this guy's hand, and then no, shake my hand, please. I want to shake your hand, and it's the whole story of CM Punk is he became what he hated.
Right.
John Cena said it. MJF was gonna say it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the story of punk rock in a way. I mean, like in punk rock, like to make money, what do you have to do? You have to sell out, and that goes against the integrity of punk rock. The do-it-yourself, rip to shreds. I don't need anyone's help. It's my way or the highway again. And that's, I guess, his downfall in a way. And this is where the bogus journey or the tragedy of CM Punk as well rears its head in WWE, AEW. It just constantly happens, but
he does it to himself.
And why do you think that is? Because he thinks he's better than he is, and he had to deal with being second fiddle to John Cena. Then Roman Reigns is now coming up, and he's like, great, another guy I'm going to have to get behind while I'm doing it.
I think, a part of it is because the WWE situation and the AEW situation, they're connected, but they're vastly different. In WWE, he was the natural born antagonist because he was not the looker, not the style. He was just he was anti all of that and was over. So they had to
I think
put
like
him
all the
on.
reports were like, why did we sign this guy?
They were,
this guy doesn't match what we do.
I remember at that time, this was back when, what year was that?
This is late 05, early 06.
So at that point, I was just following wrestling. I think I was at the job I was at. I was hating life, but
sound like me.
I was listening. Like I listened to a lot of Wrestling Observer stuff. So I would mostly Wrestling Observer radio, and I would read the reports. And I was always fascinated when they'd say, because Cena was number one with the merch, but Punk, every week it felt like it was steadily climbing up. And at the house
5
shows,
years later, when his reign starts to happen, when he finally is placed on the top, and there was a whole they made him the secondary world champ by being the world heavyweight champion. He was the first guy to win Money in the Bank twice. They tried numerous times to say we kind of believe in this guy, but
I had a Punk shirt. What if I could find that shirt?
Wow, I never did. I never had one.
I had a Punk Ringer shirt. Hey, keep going. I'm gonna see if I can find it though.
But like you said, this company sees him one way, and he goes to the other company, which was tailor-made for him, Chicago-based.
Yes.
The owner is the biggest CM Punk fan. He'll say it himself. The two guys who wanted him in the company will later go on to regret their decision. And you want to post the image of him and the Young Bucks. The irony, in any interview prior to AEW starting, the Young Bucks would be asked, who do you want to see join Bullet Club? And they'd be like, oh, it'd be cool, CM Punk join Bullet Club. I think he'd be a good fit and all that. And the irony is that the Young Bucks aren't drinkers and drug guys either. They're the good Christian boys, but
they're Christian?
Yeah. You can't tell?
I mean, I'm not surprised that they're not drinkers, but I didn't realize they were they're legit
Yeah, which kind of explains why they're assholes. No offense to any Christians out there, but
so they just love the Lord.
Yeah, which means you like to be an asshole to people who are an asshole to you.
Oh, I didn't realize that they were Christians.
I asked who do you want to see join Bullet Club, CM Punk, and then when they did the first All In, they had tried to reach out and get him to make an appearance.
Right.
If you remember that, and Cody Rhodes also tried to get him to come in as well. And then when they started AEW, the report was that they had reached out. He instead took the Fox deal to work on WWE backstage. And the reasoning was he wanted to see this company play out, not join and watch it crash and burn. As we discussed last week, he wanted to give it time, which is why almost 2 years later with the first stance, he comes back because now this company's had a year and a half to grow and show that it's sustainable.
Right.
Unfortunately, he wasn't sustainable. At that point, the body wasn't sustainable. But yeah, like, and these guys are the OGs to Hangman Page, and the missing OG is Kenny Omega, and those three guys saw something in Hangman Page for years and wanted to make him the top star in AEW. It just took some time. They built him up in the correct way, tag champion, run in the mid card, work your way up by beating lots of heels, and then you finally beat the world champion and win the title. Right. CM Punk ends his reign, and there's the whole backstage of like Hangman Page says CM Punk's only there for himself. You're selfish. Like, again, who is CM Punk? What is CM Punk? He's a Bret Hart fan, and what's Bret Hart? Bret, you're so damn selfish.
Well, yeah, I think, but that's kind of how it all plays into each other, right? It's like, because I think there's different schools and there's different philosophies and ways that people travel and kind of.
Why are him and FTR close friends? Because FTR like, man, they're not using us. We think we're better than we are. We think we're better than those guys, and we have all these gold, and it's still not. We have all this gold. It's still not good enough.
Yeah, and then they're like, they're like, hey, Punk, what are you about to do? I'm about to watch this Bret Hart DVD. No way, I have that one right here. And they're like,
son, say what?
We're gonna go watch it together. And that's kind of what happened. And then I mean, Dax Harwood said one day, hey, Punk said I won't have a match. But I think that's kind of like, you notice they're also on the outside, right?
Yeah.
Like it kind of makes sense.
And why is that? Did they alienate themselves right away, or did the egos of the Young Bucks, who were like, everyone says these guys are the best tag team, we're the best fucking tag team, we're gonna beat these guys, win the tag titles, that way that debate's finally over, and then come 2 years later these guys will finally beat us, and because they're whining and bitching about how we were remember that FTR did, like, they said, like, we were mad that we lost that match, and we were mad even more that it wasn't the main event given the nature of the match, which I understand that did make sense. That match, after being talked around the internet for years and years, should have been the main event of Full Gear, but due to Tony Khan's world title always main events unless it's a lights out match.
I agree with that. I'm not mad at that. But I think the thing is
that's a very CM Punk thing to do, and what I'm saying, that FTR has been doing, and CM Punk, when he came in AEW, just seemed, again, as people say, hunky-dory, good times. This guy found his love for pro wrestling. He wanted to teach, he wanted to mentor. And then we don't know any of this backstage stuff until Hangman Page calls him out, and that's when the whole Colt Cabana aspect comes into play. If you want to put that image up.
I was about to say the whole Colt Cabana of it all.
Colt Cabana.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
Real quick. So here's a funny thing. Colt Cabana's real name, Scott Colton, as he said on the media scrum. Remember, he called this man by.
I was like, who the hell is Scott Colton?
You're like, you gotta Colt Cabana in ICP, the Insane Clown Posse's wrestling, the Juggalo wrestling that they do, would go by Officer Colt Cabana.
Right.
In this indie movie CM Punk did called Jacob's Wife, he's a sheriff whose name is Deputy Colton. And that's around no. And this is around 2019. And what did he say in that media scrum? I haven't talked to this guy in 8 years. I haven't been friends with him. So I'm like, is this some dig of like to be an asshole? Like, hey, call me Officer Colton, because a guy I used to be buddies with, he played a cop once. And
maybe. I could see him. I could see that. I honestly could. Why not? If you felt the way and you wanted to throw us, they do, because they do that all the time. And
in Hollywood, you'll cast so and so to play like an asshole, like like the movies have casted people to play Harvey Weinstein types as like oh wow, like that's what you.
And they'll name them a certain thing. Yeah, 100%. Wow, I'm pulling up a couple of photos of me. I'm finding. I used to really. I guess I liked wearing this CM Punk t-shirt.
No.
There's one I'm trying to find that I cannot find, but keep going. I'm sorry.
And obviously, everyone remembers Thanksgiving weekend 2014, the infamous Art of Wrestling podcast. I remember when it happened, I was just like, holy shit. As a CM Punk fan, I'm like, wait, this guy's going to speak. And he was like, these weren't pipe bombs. These were like grenade launchers. Like, it was just like, one for you, one for you. Like, Vince McMahon, Triple H, anyone, like Ryback, again, was like the fucking, he got beat to death by CM Punk. It was just like names and names.
Let me ask you a question, Trent. Do you remember when have I told this story before? Do you remember when that podcast hit, when that episode of
I legit think it was that Thanksgiving Day, right before the Star Wars Force Awakens teaser.
Do you know
or
what?
Right after.
You probably never read it. I wrote a piece on that for Complex proper, because it was a huge story, and I sent the piece. I sent a news
because he hadn't
piece.
said anything in 8-9 months.
He hadn't spoken, and when he spoke, the conversation was, "This is how this fucked up my health. You know, this is what I was trying to get married, and they made me do this." Like, it was all. Here's the photo I was looking for. Okay, it was all of the terrible shit that was going on and
what's he say? I could have gone to a place and got paid for this. I could have made this a real shoot interview, but you're my friend, you're my buddy. I came here because so he could talk to someone and vent to someone who he has history with. And the whole time you can kind of tell Colt Cabana's like, geez, what? Like, in this, that's the whole point of like,
what can he say?
No. I'm saying I'm like when he was being served by WWE's doctor, and that's when he's like, hey, maybe I should take this down. And same point's like, no, what isn't this like the freedom of speech aspect? Like, you know, sure, it might be defamation, but like, no, like, keep this up. And that whole court fiasco, and like, I'll pay for your legal bills. He didn't. And then that's like the whole, like, we had to subpoena him and his mom, and they share a big, and that whole messiness from what do you remember from those podcasts? Like, did you think he was in the right state, or were you just like, this fucking prick just,
well, let me take this.
It's just an asshole crying whoa, right?
No, I at the time, one sec. At the time, I remember this. I don't remember when Linda McMahon had run for office, but she had run for office around that time, and there was a big conversation about the independent contractor side of the WWE, and it didn't really catch on like I thought it was going to catch on. I think at some point they did a story on it on a John Oliver show on HBO.
Yeah,
they did, and it's a really good piece. But
Mercedes Renato is certainly testing that independent contractor bit with this Wrestle Kingdom thing. We'll see.
We'll see what happens. But
that's what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. You can't just tie me down unless we have a contract. Like,
but it was fascinating that in every other line of work, you couldn't do what the WWE is doing with that particular aspect of the contracts, but
hence unions.
And you're also never going to get like a union in it. Like, Roddy Piper says he's tried to do it, but the system isn't set up because the people aren't ready to unite in a way that means that they're going to be able to really.
No, but I mean, were they a union, WWE would have every right to sue him for walking out.
No, of course.
Again, his whole argument, how he won, is like, the way their contracts are set up, I can do this at any time, just like how they can release 40 people during the first 2 months of the pandemic at any time, and they did.
Right.
People that they just signed to 5-year extensions.
I will say it made sense because, especially if he was like that fucked up, like, you know, the Z-Pack shit and him talking about the physical pain that he was in, and them kind of just sending him to a doctor to send him with a couple of packs of meds to then go back and wrestle when he's vomited and all this shit. Like, that meant something to me. The conversations about him going to trying to get married and all that stuff. Like, I remember sitting there, I'm like, because it drove me to, I don't forget how many words it was. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm like, I have to write about this.
Yeah.
And the job was like, you need to write about this. So I spent like, my wife, shouts out to my, love my wife. She's in the kitchen cooking dinner. I'm sitting at the computer. I got the piece done. The piece got up that day, but it was like, it was a real trying to make the world understand the crazy world of pro wrestling for people
Mhm.
who understand it's a big story but don't really know what's going on. But I at the time I probably had a lot of, but I mean, I will say this. This is the photo I was looking for. Hold on one sec. Because I actually, at the very least, I was a CM Punk fan. You know, this was me in Philly at,
Wow.
this was at the South Street Diner in Philly. That's a Blackberry.
Oh
It
my
was, it was a flip up. It might have been a torch. I forget what it was called, but you flipped the screen up and it had a keyboard under it. This is a photo. God, this is right before I started shaving my hair. Yeah, it was like right before I started shaving my head completely
It looks
bald.
good right now.
This is me and my son
Oh.
at see, he's got the Cena shirt. He was a Cena.
Yeah.
This is when he actually liked pro wrestling. This was at a WWE live event in Trent. Not a bad seat in the house if you go.
I was gonna say, based off the darkness behind you can tell that's a live event because they don't like shit.
They don't like shit back there. And this is, you can see me in the back. I don't know where that damn Blackhawks hat is anymore, but this is Will Casso. He's
so you were full CM Punk, Blackhawks hat, CM Punk t-shirt.
I mean, I was because it was red and black. You know, it's easy to match with.
No, that's why he did it. Again, he's a Blackhawks fan, a Chicago native, so
it makes sense. No, it makes sense. But I don't remember. Wait, so the first one was
they were a week apart because
the second one was like
the show was weekly. Yeah, the
second one was answering questions that people had.
Yeah,
I remember listening to that, but I kind of at a certain point the questions didn't seem like they were.
He barely answers any of the questions. He just kind of continues to go in a little bit
and talk some. I think I listened to it once, but I've gone back
because
to the other ones.
Cole Cabana said the website they created for the mailbag like shut down. It just overfilled, just like how SoundCloud or whatever shut down that day because people had to listen. If you were a wrestling fan, you had to listen to this, and I still listen to this. I'll listen to this every 2 months as kind of like motivation in a way,
right?
Because I still am a CM Punk fan, even though I do completely see the flaws of him as a human being. Again, say you'll cover a friend's lawyer bills and just to turn your back on, like, that is some fuck shit. Like, come on, like, you got to be really like an asshole to do that.
That's some cold shit there, bro.
But what he's saying, about it, I mean, who can't relate to like, oh, I kind of deserve that based off how I worked and how I worked through all this, how I grind and I'm frustrated, and you tell me you'll owe me and I never get it back. And who can't relate to that in any way? Their job, again, my real job, podcasting, all that, who can't empathize with what he was going through? And again, the physical pain and all that, again, being served on your wedding day, again, only an evil man like Vince McMahon. Thinking that's probably where CM Punk learned it from. That's why he saw so much in him in ways. Like,
that's why CM Punk and Vince. That's why Vince let him work like that. Because I think at some point,
the evil in me is the evil in you. Yeah,
he likes when people buck. When he gives them a directive and they say, oh, you know what, I'm going to challenge you.
Fuck me.
And he's like, oh yeah, really? Because he'll make it hell.
Yeah,
he'll give him hell, but CM Punk was able to, get that title. He's able
CM Punk was the guy who says, I'll go all out on this match and try to hurt myself. And then when he comes back through the curtain, he's like, well, that match should have been the last match because it was so damn great. It should have been the main event. CM Punk's like, yeah, because I fucking try to kill myself. It is a real, Satan Lucifer relationship, or like whatever the son of Satan is. And so obviously everyone knew going in to AEW at some point, like Eddie Kingston said, like, this is gonna wear it. Then this is all a fake smile. It's a charade.
But not
those. But that was played on screen. But in reality, there had to been like, okay, like, let's kind of like tick tock until the honeymoon phase is over.
But you said everyone. Who's everyone? Because I don't.
Based off his history, you had to assume something again. Like,
you're saying people in the locker room.
I think people in the locker room, people like us, podcasters, writers. I think everyone. Yeah.
I don't think the timeline knew.
The only person who didn't was the guy running the show, because he was so infatuated. And I'm not saying it in a negative way, but like by getting the golden goose, by the elusive one, like, I am the man who brought CM Punk back to wrestling, he would have done anything. And you still see that he's trying to do everything to keep him there.
But you think that this scrum, this is when Tony Khan realized I fucked up?
No, because I think at the end of the day, he still wants him there.
So he's the only
I think
person that has not realized.
No, he probably has. But again, what I said this last week, right? Or whatever, that Tony Khan, a good thing about him is he won't throw his people under the bus. He'll step in front of the bullet for his people. The whole Tony Storm, Thunder Rosa, Jamie Hayter situation, he, diffused that situation as best as he could, where he said, technically Tony Storm's reign will now count, even though that's not, I believe that's not how interim reigns work. That he wanted to save face by her reign actually did matter, even though Thunder Rosa relinquished after Jamie Hayter won. It's again like this guy will constantly, like he's trying to do in the scrum. Remember where he's like, CM Punk says something and then Tony Khan says something and he's like, it was my bad, I shouldn't have said that. And CM Punk's like, no. And you can try to say Tony Khan is willing to be the martyr for his talent, for his people, again, to be the likable boss, the Michael Scott, if you will. But
what the thing is, and I think that, because I don't want to harp on Tony because there's no reason to, but it's because this is his first time doing his job. He's doing a bang up job, but in many aspects, I think this situation, I agree with you that he is definitely. He could have thrown CM Punk out a while ago if he really wanted to. For some reason, he can't. I think it's more contractual stuff than anything. But
I still don't think he even wants to, based off being a fan. I mean, unless he's had to think of like, I met my idol and he's an asshole. Maybe he is,
But that's why I'm saying I think at the very least at the scrum this night, because it was right around this part where I from what I gathered the first time I watched it, Punk started flying off the handle at the question immediately.
No. Remember, the whole thing is there was never a question. He started it.
What?
He called the dude out and said, did you do improv with Scott Colton? No. And the dude's like, huh? He's like, you're Nick Houseman, right? He's like, yeah. He's like, did you do improv with Scott Colton? And he's like,
we should react to the scrum one.
We will. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah. But no, it's the whole, everyone says like we all thought he was reacting to a question, but the footage is shown. He came in there with like finger on the trigger, like, come on.
Finger on the muffin. The other hand, a plastic bag full of seltzers.
He popped that fucking seltzer open and then.
But wait, so maybe it was after that first. I'm gonna have to watch that scrum.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it right after this.
But you said after this. I may watch it for myself. I think we're gonna have to record maybe next episode. But you think we'll get in copyright trouble for a scrum?
No, I'm saying, won't we do this for what's now the Black Reaction pod? I'll do it. I'm saying I'll do it with you if you want to do that, because like you've been watching New Jack and.
No, yeah, I don't. What I'm saying, I don't know if I want to do that right now, though.
No, we can't do it on. No.
Yeah, I'm not doing that right now. That's what I thought you were saying, but we should do that though.
There, I get some good barbs in there.
So maybe I won't rewatch it. I'll watch it when we watch it together. Anyway, we're producing a whole nother show. There's a point where I guess they ask a question and Punk starts flying off the handle and Tony starts, it's like the first actual question. Tony starts talking, and as he's talking and Punk's talking and they're going back and forth, towards the end of the conversation with that question, he's like, yeah, I probably should have answered that question. I think he was realizing that Punk, A, was too far gone, and B, it was because he had a long enough leash. Like if Tony Khan had if there was a way for him to nip this in the bud early, if he could have G-checked CM, there's no way it was going to be able to happen.
Hold me back.
Punk is too much of his idol. You know what I mean? He's just sitting there like his homie. But
exactly,
if he had the ability to G-check him like he is some of these kids who are indies and they want to get on TV, we probably wouldn't have gotten the scrum and everything
someone
that
did the
happened
George Bush, like
I mean,
You need to calm your ass down.
Vince Russo needed a Vince McMahon to kind of rein him in. I'm not saying CM Punk was being reined in by the WWE, but he was manageable.
Yeah.
He had beef with everybody,
Mhm.
and his beef he didn't walk out until he was
And what
at his
did he do
wit's
though?
end.
He leveraged that for a storyline with The Rock. He leveraged that for numerous things. A storyline with Triple H. And that, again, that was the ultimate, like, fuck this guy. This guy came back out of retirement to bury me because I've hated him and he's hated me. But the fallout of the scrum, which we'll get to in that episode, is an attack. Again, we still don't know the full details of who shot first in like the Han Solo Greedo way.
Bit.
But a man bit another man, and left heroin track marks, as we discussed this past week.
That's
and reverse, what do these guys? So here's the thing. So the story is that Ace Steel bites Kenny Omega.
Right.
Everyone gets suspended for their involvement, rightfully so. There was no innocent party.
Fact.
Because if they came looking for a fight and CM Punk stood his ground, they're all wrong.
No, 100%. 100%.
But for the guys to come back, rightfully so, and then say, no, we're not going to do anything. No, we're just going to come back, do our stuff. It is what it is. It's done. They chant Punk, CM Punk. You were in the building. What do you think of that?
That was hilarious, but not surprising. That crowd was very loud.
But again, that
for
is
what they cared about.
How fickle wrestling fans are. A year ago,
it would have
tears in their eyes.
A year ago, that's why I said
Cult of Personality would come out and people would
lose their shit. But that's why I was saying the timeline. That's why when you say everybody, I don't know if it was everybody, because a year ago the timeline was so pro Punk. You would not have thought that one calendar year later, he ain't even there no more. You could go anywhere and CM Punk was the revolutionary chant for anybody who was tired of the pro wrestling establishment. And now they've got their OGs, they've got their upstarts. They got John Moxley, they got Chris Jericho. Why would you need a CM Punk? So fuck CM Punk. But I mean, this is crazy.
But if CM Punk came back tomorrow,
if CM Punk,
that's the thing, right?
The thing is just like
people
you said,
still cheer Hulk Hogan, Cal.
But your man, you like the key is your man. You said that your man's isn't ready to let him go, which I think is low key been the other big part about all this, because like I've been saying, and I'm gonna keep hammering it in. CM Punk wanted to be that locker room's OG, but they already had OGs.
Yeah,
the person who didn't,
his career.
The person who should have realized that was Tony Khan. But Tony Khan was looking up to CM Punk more as an idol compared to working with him like he was with Chris Jericho. Because Chris Jericho is foundational. CM Punk was trying to run the show.
Well, we'll get to the other part of the Chris Jericho hold up in that. The other thing is that Tony Khan, and I don't mean this in like the physical nature, even though it's obvious, isn't intimidating like Vince McMahon is.
Right.
Tony Khan lets the inmates run the asylum. Vince McMahon would shoot you down in a heartbeat if you thought you could just go out and do whatever, say whatever on your time, his time. Your time is his time. Like that's not going to fly. That's the downfall of a lot of, I think, storylines in AEW is you wanted to go with that. Why? Oh, because I was told I could do whatever I want. And then we've seen kind of the ramifications of that.
But
go ahead.
But you know what the funny thing is, and I don't know. Are you an astrology, Drip?
Somewhat.
I'm a Libra, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tony Khan's birthday is the day before mine. Like when I realized that Tony Khan was a Libra, there are like.
Let's see what CM Punk is.
A lot of people don't like Libras because of certain aspects of what they say, and I understand that in me, and I totally 100% understand Tony Khan, especially when you say letting the inmates run the asylum. I'm not saying that we do that every week on the podcast.
Oh no, Cal, we do.
But the thing, like it's kind of there is an art to that organized chaos, and I think that's part of the beauty of what Tony Khan's trying to build with AEW is the fact that not that it's chaotic and the inmates are running the asylum, but I think he wants to keep that aspect of anything can happen.
It can be the best thing and the worst thing. Yeah.
CM Punk going to get a
is
show.
October 26th.
So he's a Scorpio.
He's an after a Libra, yeah.
Yeah, Scorpio. They apparently supposed to be freaks though.
Yeah, mi corazón is a Scorpio. So.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
I don't understand any of that shit. I do not. I don't even want to know. No, I don't want.
But no, like you said, like
next topic. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but you brought up Chris Jericho. What does Chris Jericho do? Because since he is Chris Jericho, 30 years, in the business, a man who has done it all, won it all, and in AEW, he does what he wants to. There's no fucking doubt about that. That Tony Khan, and it's crazy that you think again, like I said this when we did the Cody episode, that he left because he was tired of everyone doing what they wanted. And the stuff he was doing didn't matter anymore because people got tired of his shtick. Right. I'm going to go out. I'm going to cry about my dad. I'm going to cry about my wife. He just took that over to the other companies, doing the same fucking thing, putting on these 3.5-star fucking matches because that's all he can do. But everyone else in AEW continued to do their thing. The Elite stuck together while Cody Rhodes got what he wanted from them, dipped out. Mm-hmm. Chris Jericho showed up, wanted all the creative freedom Vince McMahon never gave him because for whatever reason, Vince McMahon, again, much like CM Punk, I like you here. Not here. You can do everything for me, but you're getting short, got an okay look. You might have that's the thing, right?
The shit that matters, it matters to them,
to Vince McMahon,
that matters.
I don't care if you can out wrestle Bill Goldberg. I don't care if you can out talk Batista.
Right?
No, they're my guys. Like you lose to these guys. Like you will get a run every once in a while, but
you're a little man,
yeah. So Chris Jericho, again, whether it's the Inner Circle, whether it's the whole Champion, the JAS, and I'm not trying to start shit kicks. I'm just saying, like, this man has carte blanche, right? We've all agreed that this man shows up and does what he wants.
But why?
Which is why he handpicked Colt Cabana in Chicago as his opponent, as a former ROH champion. After all this mess goes down, and Chris Jericho, I think, has had it out for CM Punk for years. Maybe that whole best in the world thing is legit heat. Who knows? Maybe it's that Chris Jericho saw CM Punk as a younger him or whatever. Or I still think it's the fact that Chris Jericho never got CM Punk on his podcast. I still think that's an aspect in this story, that he was so mad that CM Punk never did talk as your. Yeah,
I've been
he's never done it. When he came back to wrestling, he did 2 pods with Renee Paquette. He never did a Talk as Jericho, and everyone does both.
People, I never forget like those interviews and those podcast bookings I want, and I really tried to get, I couldn't get. I never forget.
Yeah, I think he's held that against him.
That's fun. It being a podcast booking,
because he said it like I could like, he says it in the Art of Wrestling podcast. Like people like Jericho are like talking about me, or like, oh, I'd love to have him on, hear his story. Like I don't want to go to people that have ulterior motives for whatever reason. And it was just like he's not wrong, because I mean, if you listen to a Chris Jericho podcast, it's always like, so tell me about this and that, because I didn't do any research.
Right. Yeah. That's why I stopped listening to it. It was definitely off. But I mean, I'm not trying to slander.
No. Chris Jericho just plays like, tell me your story, sing me your song.
But I think
I am just the outlet. I am not a back and forth person.
I think the thing, it's funny that learning that Tony Khan originally would have wanted CM Punk to be in the role that Jericho is in, knowing that Punk's mentality was far from what Jericho was thinking going in. It's almost like Punk reneging on that was the best thing for AEW, because you get Jericho, who has the obviously, just the legacy of being a champion in multiple companies,
and
but
putting guys over, or seeing Iron talent. Famously, that whole story about Daniel Bryan at the time in NXT, they had that short match, and he came back and said, like, Vince, this guy needs to be on Raw.
This is the guy right there.
And this is when, and Vince said, he doesn't even eat meat. Like that guy, like
he doesn't even eat meat. But I think
that's what like the whole point of CM Punk was like, this guy doesn't even drink. Like, how can this is the guy you want to be? Like,
but I think Jericho, he's good at, because he was a guy who had been in Japan or been in Mexico and then was going to American TV with a rep, but not really known to the audience, and learns how to put people over, whether it's,
I don't
on the
think
mic or over. But what I'm saying is,
no.
I,
I don't
I
think he commands respect like CM Punk wants to command
but
respect.
but even outside of all that, what I'm saying is, I think Jericho does two things. He's very good at being a superstar pro wrestler that people want to tune into, and everything that means, with promos, the main event matches, all of that stuff. But he's also not holding on to any type of superiority over people. Like, he'll exert his seniority when people need to be respecting that. But it seems like he's also very
Yeah, the Brock
willing.
Lesnar thing, where he's like, "Hey, what the fuck was that?" Brock Lesnar's like, "Come on, give me a kiss. Come on, kiss me."
I think Jericho's willing to look like the buffoon to put someone over. He's willing, like you said,
Oh yeah,
and I think that quality, because it teaches a lot. Being a part of the JAS, I think it's supposed to be, you're under my wing. I see something in you. Let's figure out the tools to get you where you need to go. Punk isn't
JS, Inner
Punk isn't doing
Circle.
that.
Even not that Kevin Owens needed it, but maybe he needed it for the mainstream audience.
I think there was a reason why he was with Owens, and I imagine
Yeah.
Owens probably would tell you that. I did pick up some, because he was already there.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, yeah. But I mean, like, in terms of like wrestling fans, where there's like, oh, it's just great to see these two guys together. But people who didn't watch NXT or didn't watch ROH are like, who's this
They wouldn't know why
guy with Chris Jericho? Yeah, like, why should I care about this guy? Oh, they put him with Chris Jericho, so it'll matter.
Punk got there, and he was friends with the owner and FTR, who were like the best wrestlers in the world. Like, he
wasn't
couldn't really.
We'll put
He
up that
was
image
cool.
again of him and the Young Bucks, because he writes a
was.
caption, because that was his year in a, like, let me see if I can. I might just read it from my own.
Hold up. Yeah. 1 year ago began the best year of my professional career. Too many great moments, not enough space to post all the great pics. Rekindled passion, made new friends, reunited with old ones. Can't stop smiling. Won't stop until the wheels fall off. God. Thank you most of all to all the fans who made it possible. Having the time of my life, as there's a drive into deep left field by Castellanos.
That's a baseball joke. The guy,
that'll be
there's a baseball player who hits a home run whenever like something goes on.
Oh,
whether like they're talking about like a player's bio, or like so and so just passed away and he was an integral part of the club. Oh my god, he just hit a home run. It's like that. It's whenever this guy hits home runs at like the wrong time. But no, what he said, like the wheels fall off. How the wheels fell off.
Till the wheels fall off.
I mean, the irony is that he says it in storyline that John Moxley said CM Punk is fragile mind, fragile body, fragile ego, and that, I guess, it rang true, right? At the end of the day, I mean, that body couldn't hold up. We talked about, again, all this pain he was in 2014. Why do you think you can pick it up 7 years later while you age? I know you can say that you're resting, but again, you fought 2 UFC fights. That certainly didn't help.
Try to tell people.
And again, you can appreciate the effort and, the valiant.
Of course, but if you're trying to be that ring general or that locker room general, you're trying to be the AEW OG, you got to be able to run with the Bucks. You got to be able to run with the Hangman Pages and the Kenny Omegas. And if you can't run with the John Moxleys, you might as well go back to wherever you would go back home and chill on the couch, because it's.
You would think that guy would get hurt based off of the shit he does, and he's still going. CM Punk takes a dive to the outside at 5 minutes in. He's like, my elbow's gone. It's
yeah. It's like, look at it. It's not how it's supposed to be.
It's broken.
But I think, like you said, that time is a motherfucker. And I don't think he wasn't preparing for an AEW return like people would be preparing for one WrestleMania match. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't imagine what he had actually done.
But what would that have done? You still got it. And then he would have to come back, do a few more matches, hang around, again, look what happened when they brought Kurt Angle back for that Shield match. They trotted him out how many more times over the next 2 years? When it was like, this man shouldn't be wrestling. Like,
what he should have done, and God, here I am about to give Shawn Michaels props. What he should have done is switch.
Fuck Shawn Michaels, because Shawn Michaels was pissed that Ric Flair reneged on their retirement match. And Shawn Michaels, when he heard a check come calling, he said, yes, sir, to Daddy McMahon.
But what I'm saying is,
after he could have went out on a great legacy, one of the few retired when he retired, but no.
When Shawn Michaels returned, and he couldn't do what he used to be able to do 3-4 years earlier, whatever that time frame was. He had to switch.
7, 8, yeah.
He had to switch his style up. He had to.
Oh, you mean the first return?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they meant Saudi. I think meant Saudi.
No.
No, if anything, he was a better worker the second time.
That's what I'm saying. I think Punk.
Well, also, I don't know if we'll ever do a Shawn Michaels episode, but I think he was lying the whole time.
Probably it could have been. He could have been. I don't know where he was at in his path to the Lord at that point when he returned.
It's not just that aspect of it. Again, I'm just a real
I'm just saying.
But like,
I'm just saying. I don't know how genuine.
He wrote the whole thing like I did a few stretches and my back felt great. Yeah, he says I was wearing my knee brace. As long as I wore my knee braces, I was fine. It's like, you mean you couldn't have worn knee braces 3 years prior, Sean?
No, I don't. I'm not buying.
Again, maybe he just did need to detox and like take a year off, but like I don't think it was like, oh, I'll never be able to wrestle again. Like they said I wouldn't. The CM Punk thing is someone who left because he had a distaste for it, a hatred towards it. Maybe he was in it for the money too, like he always seems to be. I'm not mad at anyone chasing the bag. Again, get that money. That's what life is about. But also, you have to know if your body can't hang, you got to tap out while you can. Unless you're going to be satisfied putting up work that is less than stellar of your previous work. I mean, we see directors all the time hang around that have lost their luster.
But wait, because y'all not going to sit here and talk to me about New Japan and All Japan, and then not act like people like the Great Muta, Keiji Muto have been able to like totally have essentially different.
No, I watched one Great Muta match from like 2013. All he was doing was hitting Shining Wizards, and that was 10 years ago. So him now, I can't imagine.
I don't know, but I'm not saying 2022. You're right, though. That's the thing. Like
he was cooked then, so now it's just like
he was cooked then. But he was cooked then, so he wasn't trying to do back handspring elbows.
Yeah.
And he was more muscular, so it was more about high impact stuff. CM Punk could have carte blanche to go into AEW and been like, hey, can't do it. I'm not the scrapping young buck I was 10, 12, 15 years ago. We got to figure it out and work situations that would adapt to him. But that doesn't, and I'm not saying, well, he should have had a singles program with Dax Harwood for 6 months, but I think
you just need to wrestle that.
It's about
everyone
approaching it differently and making sure that your opponents can adapt to that. He tried to go in and be Lee Moriarty or CM Punk from the time when he was dog collar chained up to Raven, and it wasn't working. It wasn't working, and we saw what happened.
But anyway, even then, I still think this guy has a right to be mad because, again, Kenny Omega, the Bucks, they downplayed the chance. That is what it is. And then Kenny Omega said, we're not going to do anything about it. And then they do the bite live on TV. Like, come on, what kind of shit is that? Like, really? Like, again, that shows how, one, again, I respect pettiness.
That's super petty.
But two, it's the thing of like, you're just as guilty in this situation too. And if someone, but again, the Young Bucks would be like, if someone did this to us, they would capitalize it just as well. It's heat. It's good heat. It gets people going. Like,
but guess what? They run the show.
No, that's the other part. But again, like, so but I'm saying like they're not as innocent. That's the whole point. Like them being these good Christian boys. I'm like, listen, these guys it's the wrestling business. 90% of them are assholes. Like, let's not be surprised that these guys, that one Mac Jackson tried to do the buckshot lariat, or at least the CM Punk version of the buckshot lariat, and landed right on his ass and would have been like, like,
yeah, right.
Like,
I thought that was corny. Actually,
that's them though.
I thought all of that was corny.
They're the corny guys, and that's why they've had all their heat. That's a whole nother episode. I don't know if we'll do a Young Bucks episode. Not that I have hate or love for it. It's just a thing we'll see when we get there. But like,
strike you down.
So I can understand him not wanting to come back, but again, there's just so much potential with this story with them, the story of MJF, even though that seems to be teetering on like maybe we should take this title off this guy, because not just to put it on Ricky Starks, but again, the silence that was last week and just it might awkward. Not. Yeah.
But do you think you say the silence of Dynamite the night of Ricky Starks or the week before?
No, the week before, the whole 20-minute segment, I was like, why is this going on? And no one is carrying what this dude is saying until he punched William Regal. Everyone was like, and then they popped like crazy for that. So it was like, maybe we should have just done this from the start instead of just build up, because there was nothing that was like, it was just ratcheting and ratcheting and ratcheting. And it's like, man, this is a lot of filler.
Because the best story that MJF ever did was with your man.
That's what and what's the whole point of that is like, I'm a snake. And what's CM Punk? Was he the snake that the devil? Was CM Punk the snake that the whole time? Like, you guys know I'm gonna bite you. Like,
I tried to warn y'all. I tried to warn.
It's on them. They should have seen it coming. By them begging and pleading, like, I hope this guy comes back. I'd love for him to come. You wrote your own death certificate, or like whatever that saying is. Like, you did it to yourself. Like,
facts. You did it. You played
yourself. And that's why the ratings are bad, because this guy did help the ratings a little bit. I think people are maybe pissed off about how it's all gone down and the restarting of a whole lot of stuff. And the people will always love the elite that are the AEW diehards. They'll always love them more than CM Punk, even though they probably love CM Punk just as much. But these guys, like you said, run the company in a way. They'll rock with them more than the guy who came down and tried to like wreck our pretty little home that, was trying to compete against the mansion across the street,
Facts. Big facts. Big facts. I don't know, man.
How does this all end for everyone? Do you think? What kind of? Because there is no happily ever afters in CM Punk's story, unfortunately.
I think
there is not in the UFC, not in the WWE.
But so Punk's already been doing. He was doing some commentary on the low.
The last few years, he's always done like
he's
like indie MMA events. Yeah, he's
held a booth job every now and again. But he like you said earlier,
acting. He was on Heels and will be on it again.
You mentioned earlier that he was ready to go into his next ventures. That sounds to me like he's done. I don't know if that means he's done with pro wrestling, but at the very least he's done with AEW, which I think is for the best for both parties. My hope is Tony Khan has realized that, and they're just waiting for like the contractual safety to then announce like, all right, we're parting ways. Obviously. I hope we're not in the timeline where there's like more, because I don't know what can you expect to see from CM Punk if after his injuries and everything, if he wants to wrestle some more in AEW, he would just come back. Like, how does that even work?
Does he go after these guys for mocking him and starting? Do they play on the real heat, or is there too much there that we should just stay away from it completely?
If it's not Punk versus the Elite and you play off that on some Edge and Matt Hardy shit, you better have somebody really good to distract us from the fact that that's not what's happening and CM Punk is there in the industry. But like, I would get it. The EVPs don't want to be like almost really fighting this guy who's like openly.
No, but I think these guys, I think they'd lean into it just like they did with the biting, just like they've done. That's their whole thing is we are the assholes who will lean.
You got to,
while looking corny, that's our lane.
You would have to trust Punk enough to go along with whatever the storyline is.
Yeah.
And his man's bit a man. So
I think it's more so on him. But if you're him, do you put it aside again? Because you can do it. You can make a shit ton of money by doing this. Does that factor in? And again,
he went to Fox to do a WWE show. I could see him coming back for a bag to
AEW. I could see him going back to WWE if those reports were real.
To do what?
Stone Cold Steve Austin had a match.
Stone Cold CM Punk wishes
that was his match. I know, but I'm saying like Triple H will still like, hey, he does the new. Hey, pal.
You want to see this? What
back
would
in
you
the-
like to see him do in WWE?
Nothing in WWE. I just want to see him. If they get the body, again, the body's done. He can't do it.
What he gonna wrestle John Cena?
No. Because
He gonna wrestle.
we're almost getting to a point with John Cena where I'm like, you are gonna have to wrap this up now, because since you're not doing it consistently. If he was doing it consistently, it'd be like, yeah, keep going. But you can't show up again, do 3 weeks worth of house matches just to have the one big match at the pay-per-view. It's like, because then you're gonna be gone again. I don't want you doing the Rock stuff, the stuff that you already had to walk back as soon as you had the match with him. Like, I understand what he was saying. Once I started doing Hollywood, I get it. You can't do both at the same time. But
that
I want John Cena. I want John Cena there every Monday night or every Friday night. I don't want him just there for.
That's what I'm saying.
I know that's what again. Like, then you should hang it up.
Yeah. Wrap it up.
I'm not gonna
wrap that shit up, B.
You need to wrap that gavel up.
Wrap that gavel up, B. Nah, but I'm saying at a certain
the
point.
only thing I would want to see is if he could somehow come back and do the MJF. Or thinking they fucked up the MJF as the hero story. And he was injured, so that story was cooked as soon as it happened. Like, MJF could have come back, then the savior against the villain CM Punk, but he was injured. And now this story about him and the Elite. It's like, I don't think this guy can hang in the ring with Kenny Omega, who's now had a year's worth of, rejuvenation. Like, the health meter's got like, since he's.
This is all I got to say to CM Punk. The sign is real simple, B.
What?
It says wrap it up. Wrap that shit up, B. What pro wrestling does CM Punk need to be doing? What accomplishments in the squared circle has he not?
Done.
So why would he even need to go in the ring?
For him, it's the WrestleMania main event. I think he'd still want to die on that shield.
Against who?
Roman Reigns.
If they could work a storyline between Roman Reigns and CM Punk,
yeah, again, it's all the real heat about
it.
This guy didn't move the needle, and
Roman better win.
Oh, of course, he's gonna choke him out. Yeah, he's gonna put him in the guillotine chokehold, and
it's like he's not moving. Roman, he's not getting up.
But no, it's
sorry, they got beef. That's why I said
you had said, like, all right, so basically in the Exo Adventure, the Dax Harwood was like the highlight of the Exo Adventure. Like, remember, like, what do you think the best part of the Bill and Ted is when they're like gathering around Billy the Kid or Socrates or Napoleon, which, like,
yeah,
that was like the highlight of the Exo Adventure to you was Dax Harwood. To me, it started off great with the Darby Allin match, and not that it went down after that, but it had ups and downs.
Right.
What do you think is the low light of the Bogus journey? Is it the scrum?
I think it's the scrum. I think
it's the biting. I think them taking the piss with you is worse than you calling people out. I think I'll respect you for getting shooting the shit and like being.
This is the worst part of all of this.
That's the real Bogus journey. Yeah.
I'm saying it's the scrum only because
you wrote
like, while I understand that this just looks really stupid after the whole reason they're not on TV and all this stuff's they weren't on TV for a while, to jump back into that. But like this, just the look of like frustration, and he's just like so over everything. It's fascinating that I mean, I guess they'd said that there were backstage issues, so who knows what he may have said in passing or in to be heard from people. But he
said, "Fuck you, you headband wearing fucks."
The way
with your fake Jordans,
he's so dejected and he's so like defeated after a year. Like, I honestly, I think it was the lowest point, but I felt vindicated because I was like, I knew this is what happens. This is what happens when you have
you're feeling like how I felt about Black Adam not making the money, and this man had to be like, no, it made a lot of money. Don't trust what they're saying. It made money, and this man is having to do his own what do they call it in in surgery? That term, like
suturing.
Yeah, that's what Dwayne Johnson's having to do with Black Adam. We're like, this movie actually lost almost 100 million. It's like, no, it didn't. No,
They
it
got to
did
do it.
not.
Well, because they want to make sure that it doesn't look crazy when they do Black Adam
He
2.
doesn't want because he doesn't want to show that he's a fraud like he's been for the last 8 years.
Trip. The sign on this is real simple. It said, "Wrap that shit up, P. Don't be
So you're
talking about
saying
my
CM
rock like
Punk
that." CM Punk,
after giving his all in the matches, he as best as he could.
you wrap it up.
Muffins in hand.
You ain't got nothing to prove to me. You've done
Having
what
to
you needed
answer
to
questions by journalists and
do. Take it away. Go back to Chicago, wherever he's
they
living.
were in Chicago. That was the thing.
Go home then. Just go home. Stay home.
That's what he wanted to do.
No, don't go in no MMA ring. Don't be wrestling in no wrestling ring, no boxing ring, no onion rings, none of that stuff. I don't want you doing anything. You're good.
My whole thing is, again, like, the Bucks knew what they were doing. Maybe Tony Khan, because he's so full of piss and vinegar and hope, he didn't know that this was basically Plaxico Burress in the club. This was self-inflicted.
Right.
Like, yeah.
It's bad. But again,
this man was just sitting at home, like you said, like he wanted to. Money in the bank, could do whatever he wanted, which was nothing. Be with his wife, be with his dog. And they came to him and were like, maybe I do believe what he said about like the Brody Lee tribute and how they handle it so well and seeing this company kind of do again. Once he saw that, wait, I can legit do whatever I want there, sign me the fuck up. Because that's what if I see what Chris Jericho is doing,
yeah,
I know I can go and do that. Again, then they're wrong for, like, again, not knowing that he's the devil. Again, he said it himself.
I think the thing is, he had a couple. There was a couple of ways he could have carried it, and he just carried it the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he was in the right headspace when he got to AEW, and I think if he's going to be coming back and doing whatever wrestling ring, he can't be thinking the way he was thinking this past year, because it's the inside baseball of the world of pro wrestling has changed, especially outside of WWE. It's not what it was, and he can't just bogart his way up in there. Yeah. Period.
Again, there's no happy ending, right?
No. I think the happy ending is it's happy for us.
Not even him winning the titles, because he got injured both times. It's like, again, like, what are the accolades he could have had? Like,
that man is
he didn't even have a run.
No.
As champion.
No.
Like,
he's a 2-time champion?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
With 0 title defenses.
That's nuts. He went in there and waltzed. He's a paper
technically, the John Moxley one for the interim title is a title defense, so still.
He waltzed in there, forgettable matches, and is a 2-time, for shits and giggles, AEW World Championship.
Should I send you this video as the outro?
Yes, send me a video.
All right.
Send me
We're
a video.
about to wrap it up in that.
CM Punk is the second. He has a second most number of reigns with the AEW World Championship.
Well, don't forget, that's why we had to do the whole triage, is what it's called, right?
Triage.
Yeah, that came because AEW had to do triage with shit. This is the second time we're stripping this guy. This guy's being stripped of the title. And what was their thing? Instead of, and it pissed you off. It let you down that Bryan Danielson didn't get it. John Moxley got it again, like how he had gotten it the month before. Like,
it made no damn sense. I mean, it made sense, but I damn sure didn't.
No, Cal, it didn't make sense. Didn't make sense.
No, I think when because you got to, like we were talking, I think the Thunder Rosa situation kind of it made them not want to do too much of the same thing because they had similar situations with both of their world championships. So you had to just like the Hobbs and Ricky Starks segue random ass match, that situation kind of felt stunted and ran too random to throw to the side in terms of garbage wrestling or any of that other bullshit. You sent this video?
Yeah, I just did.
Okay. I'll have to let's see if I can grab it before we go. We're not doing a part 3 of CM
No,
Punk,
no, this
right?
was
That's
this
it.
was the we're not gonna do what was Bill and Ted 3 called?
Bill and Ted, was it Save the World? Bill and
Wasn't
Ted
something?
part 3.
Oh no,
Bill,
Face the
Bill and
Music.
Ted Face the Music.
Yeah,
Christ.
no, they just can't. Yeah,
That shit
I didn't even watch it.
That shit did 6.3 million at the box office, but that's a pandemic.
That shit interfered with John Wick 4. That's what that shit did.
Did it? I don't even know nothing about
Yeah, because he did.
Oh, that's right. Well, he was also doing the Matrix too. Yeah.
And that shit we didn't need at all either. He did 2 sequels that we didn't need. And I love Keanu, but no, thank you.
I was watching something about the Matrix. Was it Matrix Revolutions or whatever it's called?
That's the 3rd one. Yeah.
Is it Revelation? Resurrection.
It might as well have been Revelations. They went so heavy-handed with the fucking
right.
Oh,
you want to end on this video?
We'll end on that. Yeah, that's how. All right. So thinking because I got to see the CM Punk return at Quake at the Lake earlier this year, and I thought, man, it's amazing. I'm about to witness CM Punk come back, win the title, go on this run finally that he should have been on 2 months ago, and less than a month, Cal, he was the All Out incident happened and it's over. Like it was and it's gone. Like, and
I don't
is
understand
why we can't have nice things. It's just like, but where can the people find you on social media, Cal?
Shit, let me I gotta do a little bit of triage myself on this thing. So I'm at Cal on Twitter, but that's not important at all. It's at Black Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Every Thursday, 8:35 p.m. on our YouTube, youtube.com/Black Wrestling. We are giving you 5 mics of podcasts, pro wrestling, whatever you want to call it, excellence. Again, shout out to LFan79, Mimi, Math, and of course the homie Drip. If you want to find me on Instagram, because I don't know what's going on with Twitter, at Cal Dub.
You and Mimi, it's been here. It's gonna stay here again.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Why would it leave? Because a madman is saying all this?
Because a madman is yeah. They called him a madman. But anyway, that's where they could find me.
Any pieces to promote?
No, I was gonna say salute to the patreon.com/Black Wrestling. You can pay the $1, you can pay the $10 to get content like this early, or content like me deep dive investigating the time when New Jack and Undertaker wrestled 2 times in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I was about to convert this whole video, then I remembered how to actually use the software. Drip.
Also, we have
what else?
Black Watch for Downtown Tony Brown and IlFam
every Monday.
Black Wrestling Podcast Club
whenever it drops.
Something else with Fam and Lily LeVeaux every Wednesday. Turnbuckle Talk, Twitter Spaces. That's at Mimi Shells. So follow her on Twitter. Or is I am Mimi Shells? I think it is, right?
Yeah, go to the Black Wrestling Twitter and look in the bio.
Yeah.
All of our ads are in
For
there.
her, Corey.
Peace to Corey. Got some things going on.
You can follow me on Twitter at Davis, aka Drip. Instagram, Davis Colm DC. Banks versus Davis every Sunday live on YouTube. Banks versus Davis Patreon. Again, this is White Noise, episode 24. Next week might be the year-end wrap-up show when we'll probably do I don't know what we'll do. I don't have a topic set yet. I think, like I said, I wanted to do kind of a postscript about the episodes that we've done. Just kind of look back, and maybe we'll just kind of talk about some random topics. Maybe we go live. I don't know.
Maybe we could. Yeah, maybe we could go live. Just got to figure out a time. I'm not gonna. Do you want me to put? I'm gonna edit this video into the end of this.
You don't want to watch it live? You don't want to play it live and see the happiness of one man and the disappointment of another?
Well, I'll play it, but there we go.
Holy shit!
Who was that said holy shit?
Me.
That was Drip. That was you? Jesus. Are you serious? Oh, weak ass hits. I'm sorry.
No, it didn't look bad.
Oh, weak ass hits. Jesus. That was your dad?
No, it was me. My dad hates CM Punk. Which I don't know why. They're the same person.
That's why. He don't want to see himself. See, I know me. I just look in the mirror. Jesus.
You don't like Cult? How do you feel about Cult of Personality as a song?
That's classic. What you mean? Big classic. But I mean, that's in living color. Like, but
Living color, not in living.
I'm sorry, I'm black. But I was gonna say, growing up as a black person who was always trying to find black people on TV, it wasn't hard. I watched a lot of MTV, and the Living Color was very popular when I was but they were kind of, because they were black people with dreads who were playing like super insane metal music.
The reverse BC Boys, right?
I mean, I guess some people would call them that. I just think they were so unique. And my man, I forget the lead singer's name, but he was a great lead singer. They were just really hard, just like a really hard group. So I was a fan of the song, but the song is also mad old. Like, I hadn't heard the song since I was a kid. I was more, because this, and shouts out to Tony Khan for bringing this back, but because there, no, there wasn't a lot of copyrighted music on WWE television. I remember that being a big deal of them being that behind CM Punk that they're going to pay to license a song or whatever. But then Tony Khan said, "Fuck it, we're gonna run with Ruby Soho and Moxley and Punk having another song, and
so the ROH
Jungle
song,
Boy
really wouldn't have interfered as much." And I do like the ROH song too, even though I never watched him and ROH as that was going on.
I didn't get it. I didn't pop for any of that stuff. But I like the storyline stuff, and I get it. When I listen, I'm not jamming to. It's no Cody Rhodes theme song.
Oh my god!
What's that song called?
End the episode.
What's the Cody Rhodes?
End the show.
What's it called?
End the show.
I'm sorry.
It's called My Wife.
Do we still have that in here? I don't know if My Wife is. I took my wife out of the system. Anyway,
to a beautiful.
Here go Drew. Oh, say less. All right, we're gonna get out of here. We'll catch y'all next week. Peace.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick.